Hi everybody and welcome to a Grimdark Future Battle Report. Prime Brothers and High Elf Fleet versus Orcs. The Prime Brothers are now in control of most of Crapus 4, mostly thanks to the efforts of High Sister Adelia and her battle sisters. The new Prime Commander on the planet is Captain Casparus, and his first task is a negotiation meeting with the High Elf Fleet. The deal is simple. The High Elf Fleet will be offered the moon Tibish orbiting Crapus 4 as base of their operation, and Prime Brothers' Supreme Command will no longer target the moon as a mission goal. It's tempting for the elves, but Shakarth is not all happy about it, because he is well aware that there is a problem with Alien Hives on the moon. The negotiation continues, but no one seems to be aware of the only remaining hostile force on Crapus 4, the Orcs. Orc Leader Ugfuss has defeated the Alien Hives on Crapus 4 and driven them towards the moon instead. Now he has the unique chance to attack the commanders of both the Prime Brothers and the High Elf Fleet. He cannot let that opportunity pass. Prime Brothers and High Elf forces are led by Captain Casparus. He is a hero with a tough value of 3. He is armed with relic sword, gravity pistol, and he has a combat shield. And then he is a veteran. The leader of High Elves, Shakarth, is also a hero with a tough value of 3. He is a high seer, so he can cast spells, and he is armed with energy spear and laser blaster. Then we have a raider squad with close combat weapons and heavy pistols, and an assault squad with 4 close combat weapons, 4 heavy pistols, and a sergeant armed with plasma pistol and energy sword. Finally, a wraith suit squad. They all have a tough value of 3. They have 3 close combat weapons and 3 wraith cannons. The Orc army is led by Ugfuss. He is a hero with a tough value of 3. He is armed with Ultra Claw and Portal Gun, and this is his big chance. With him, he has an Orc mob. 10 Orcs, and they have 9 close combat weapons, 8 pistols, 1 flamethrower, 1 heavy machine gun, and 1 Ultra Axe, and they have a Mad Doctor that gives them regeneration. Then 2 squads of commandos. They have stealth and strider. They are armed with close combat weapons and pistols, and one of the squads have an ultra claw. The other squad have a rocket launcher. Finally, 3 ultra bosses, all with tough value of 3, with close combat weapons, carbines, rocket mod, ultra axe, and a heavy flamer mod as well. The forces are already deployed, and they have deployed like this, with the Orcs in Section B and the Prime Brothers and the Elves in Section A. And here is a top view of the battlefield. There are 3 objectives, and each objective will earn 2 victory points to whoever controls it at the end of round 4. One of them is closest to the Orcs, and one of them is closest to the Prime Brothers and the Elves, and one in the middle. Let's roll off. Orcs have red dice, Prime Brothers the black one, and that means the Prime Brothers and the High Elves will activate first. And the squad of raiders spot the approaching Orcs while negotiations are taking place, and they quickly move up behind the cover here and close to the objective. The first group of Orc commandos activate next, and they also advance to a better position in cover, and from that position they will be able to take 1 shot against the raiders. The rest of the group is out of reach, but they will hit on a 5. They are bad shots, and this is a bad shot. Next up, the wraith suits. They advance from behind their cover, and they take control of the objective. And from this position, one of them can fire his wraith cannon at the Orc commandos. He will hit on a 3, so 1 hit, and that means the Orc will need a 6 to save, and with a 2, one of the 5 Orc commandos is killed. The second group of commandos advance and they take control of the top left objective. They are armed with pistols, most of them, so they can't hit anything, but one of them has a grenade launcher with a range of 18 inches. He fires at the assault squad and he will hit on a roll of 5. Far from enough. Shakarth activates next. He moves closer to the heat of the battle, and from this position he will cast a spell at the raiders and also at the wraith suits. This is the spell creator. He will need a 4. And it looks like he is successful, so the raiders and the wraith suits will have +1 defense next time they take any hits. And then he can also fire his laser blaster. He will need a roll of 4 because they are in cover, the Orc commandos, and they will defend with a roll of 5. So nothing happens. Now the Ultra bosses move forward. They advance 6 inches and that takes 2 of them into firing range with their carbines. They can try to hit the Wraith Suit squad, and they will, as usual, need rolls of 5. And it looks like 2 hits. They are AP nothing, so the Wraith Suit squad will have to roll a 3 to defend. And that is no problem for them. The assault squad moves forward. They only have a firing range of 12 inches, but they have to stay out of charge range, so they cannot fire against the Orc commandos on the other side of the battlefield here, but they are in a better position for the next round. Next up, the Orc mob. 10 orcs marching forward. They rush towards the middle of the battlefield, and here they take control of the second objective, and they are very close to the raiders. And the machine gunner and one other orc can shoot at the wraith suit. They will need rolls of 5 to hit. The machine gun has 3 shots, the pistol just 1. So the machine gunner will hit with one of his shots, and it's normally AP 1, but remember the Wraith Suit squad has a +1 defense, so it will take a roll of 3 to block. And a roll of 3 it is, so no hits this time, but the defense spell is no longer active. Captain Casparus moves to the right. He moves towards the assault squad to back them up in the upper right section of the battlefield. And the final activation of the first round is Ugfuss himself. He moves closer, and so far his attacking plans seem to go quite well, because the orcs will activate first in the second round. So this is how it looks. The orcs have taken control of 2 of the 3 objectives, and the Wraith Suit squad have taken the final objective. Let's go to round number 2. And here we have the frightening orc mob. Bloodthirsty, aggressive orcs just waiting for some close combat. And that is exactly what they will do. They charge against the raider squad. They are furious, so they will have no less than 30 attacks against the poor raiders. Most of them with close combat weapons, but also 3 attacks with Ultra Axe. And they will hit on a roll of 4. Let's go. And that's not looking good. A few hits, but not many so far. But we still have several to go. So let's roll some more. And that's not looking much better. Quite a few misses here. But again, they also have several hits, and it will be tough for the raiders to withstand all those close combat hits. So far, 6 hits. And now for the Ultra Axe. Let's see. and at least one hit, 2 hits. So a total of 6 regular hits and 2 AP1 Ultra X hits. And remember, the raiders are protected with the defensive spell. So they will need a roll of 2 to block the regular hits, and they block each and every one of them. And then they will need a defense roll of 3 to block the 2 hits from the Ultra X. And one of them fails, and that means out of all those attacks, 1 raider is killed. So the 4 remaining raiders will fight back now. They will have 12 attacks hitting on 4s. And that looks pretty good. A total of 7 hits against the orcs now. And they are AP nothing, but the orcs will need a defense roll of 5. They do not have heavy armor. So let's see. And 2 of them will block, but 5 hits will go through. But remember, they have a Mad Doctor, so they have a chance to regenerate with a roll of 5 or 6. And they regenerate 2 hits. So in the end, they will take 3 hits and 3 orcs will be removed. And at the end of this battle, the raiders will lose their magic defense and the orcs will have to roll a morale test because they lost the battle. They have a quality of 4. And with a 6, they are eager to keep fighting. They still have a lot of orc spirit. The Wraith Suit Squad here might be one of the best units on the battlefield. They advance forward and they fire their Wraith cannons, not against the commandos here, but against the Ultra bosses behind them. They will hit on a roll of 3 and they have 6 shots. And that was really, really poor. Only 2 hits. And the orcs will block them, but they will need a roll of 6. So 2 hits against the orcs, not 3, not 4, but 2. One of the orcs will take 2 hits. But with a tough value of 3, they are still alive, all of them. But now they advance, and I think it's time to fire back. They are close enough now to fire all their weapons, and that means 8 carbine shots, as well as the heavy flamer mod and the rocket mod. But let's begin with the carbines. 8 shots hitting on 5s against the Wraith Suit Squad. And 2 hits. 2 carbine hits, they are AP nothing. Now it's time for the heavy flamer mod. 6 shots, also hitting on 5s. And that looks a lot better. 4 heavy flamer shots, it's AP 1. And finally the rocket mod. 1 shot. And also a hit, and that is a deadly hit if the Wraith Suit Squad will not be able to block it. But let's begin with the carbines. They will need rolls of 3. So 1 carbine shot will hit the target. Now the 4 flamer shots, they will need a roll of 4 now. And they miss every single one. Really poor performance. What about the rocket? It's AP 2, so now they will need a roll of 5. And they also failed that one. It looks really bad for the Wraith Suit Squad now. That will be multiplied with 3. So 1 is taken out by the rocket. And then 3 flamer shots will take out the second one. And the third one will get 2 wounds out of his 3. So the Wraith Suit Squad is pretty much eliminated, and he also fails his morale test, so he's pinned. What a poor and catastrophic performance by the Wraith Suit Squad. Now Shakarth moves back. I can very well understand him. His Wraith Suit squad is practically gone, but he will try with a spell, the Spell Destroyer, against the Orc mob. He will need a 4. And he is successful, and that means the Orc mob will take 7 hits from his spell. Yeah, and this is an AP nothing type of hit, so the Orcs will block with a roll of 5. But he will also fire his laser blaster, and that will be 2 additional hits, so a total of 9 hits, and they will need 5s to block all of them. Let's see how many they can resist. So they block a few of them. A total of, let's see, 5 hits will go through, but again, they have a chance to regenerate. With a roll of 5 or 6, the Mad Doctor will do his work. Now let's see. And at least 3 of them are regenerated. So 2 Orcs are killed by Shakarth attack. But that means they go down to half strength, so they will have to pass a morale test. Otherwise, they will be pinned. Still a quality of 4, and they do just fine. The second group of Orc commandos activate and they charge against the raiders. So they have already resisted 1 attack. Now they are attacked again by the Orc commandos, and they will attack with 15 close combat attacks, hitting on 4s. And that will be 6 hit, but they are not finished yet. They have a few more attacks here, 1 more hit, and then the final, and 1 more, for a total of 8 hits, and that could be fatal for the raiders now. They no longer have magic protection, so they will need rolls of 3 to block. And they block most of it, but still 2 attacks hit and takes out 2 additional raiders. They are now down to 2 remaining and below half strength. But the 2 remaining raiders can fight back. They have already fought. They are fatigued, but they managed to hit twice. And the Orcs will block with a roll of 5. And they will block 1, so 1 Orc will be killed, but the raiders lose the battle, and that means they will have to pass a morale test. They are fearless though, so let's see if they can do it with a roll of 4. They are brave. The Orc commandos have a party, but they forgot to look back, and now the assault squad will charge them. They have 12 close combat attacks, and then the sergeant has 3 attacks with energy sword. They will hit on a roll of 3. So let's begin with the regular attacks here. And out of those 12 attacks, they will hit 5. Not the best roll, but let's see if the sergeant can be more effective with the energy sword. 3 attacks. And 2 6s, so they will be rending. 5 regular attacks, hit, and 2 with the energy sword. Now the Orc commandos will block the regular attacks first, and they will need rolls of 5 to do so. And they do not block that much. 2 of them will be blocked, so 3 will still hit. And then they will try to block the energy swords, and they will need rolls of 6 here to block them. And they fail them both. So that will be 5 hits, and that will eliminate the Orc commandos. What an effective attack by the assault squad. Ugfuss, the Orc leader, has had enough. He charges against the pinned Wraith suit guard. So he will try to remove him and clear the way for the Ultra bosses. 3 attacks, and he will hit on a roll of 4, and that is really, really bad. He fails all his attacks, so he cannot even take out a pinned unit. The 2 raiders have had enough of close combat. They are fatigued, so they move away 6 inches, and here they fire their 2 heavy pistols, hitting on a roll of 4 against the orcs. And they hit both of them. They are AP 1, so the orc mob will need rolls of 6. And they fail. What about regeneration? One of them will be regenerated, but 1 orc is shot down and removed, and again they will have to pass a morale test. And once again they pass fine. They are really, really hard to take down. Ugfuss was not able to kill the Wraith Suit guard, even though he is wounded and pinned. So now the Orc commandos move in with their close combat attacks and the Ultra Claw. And they have an awful lot of attacks against the poor Wraith Suit. And they hit a lot here. I think I can safely say that this will be the end of the Wraith Suit guard here, because he will be hit 6 times and then an additional 2 hits with the Ultra Claw. He will have to defend 8 incoming attacks, and I guess it will be impossible, but let's see. No, he has already failed 2 of them, so that will be the end of him, and he will be removed. Captain Casparus moves back, close to Shakarth, so the 2 allies are now back to back, firing against the orcs. He fires his gravity pistol, 3 shots, hitting on 3s, so he hits 2 shots. It's AP nothing, the orcs will block on a 5, but one of them is rending, so we will begin with the regular hit. And that one will be blocked, and then the rending hit, and that one fails, and since it is a rending hit, it cannot be regenerated, so 1 orc is shot down, leaving 3 left, but still with a very high morale. Incredible. And that is how round number 2 will end. The orcs will activate first in round number 3, and right now they control all 3 objectives. They have taken out the Wraith Suit guard, but they have also lost a squad of orc commandos. Now we will see what happens in round number 3. Orc Leader Ugfuss commands his commandos to attack. Instead of waiting to be charged, they charge themselves against the assault squad, and they will benefit from their furious ability. They have 9 regular attacks and 3 attacks with Ultra Claw. And as usual, they will hit on a 4. So let's see how many regular attacks they can hit. 4, and then the Ultra Claw. And a few additional hits here, and that the Ultra Claw is AP 4. So the assault squad will defend the regular ones first. They will need a 2 to defend, and they defend them all. But they will also need 6s now to defend the Ultra Claw, and they fail. So 2 hits and 2 assault squad members are struck down and cut to pieces by the claw. The remaining 3 attack 6 times, and they hit on a 3, and that is only 2 hits. And then the sergeant with his energy sword also hitting on a 3, and he is again much more effective. 2 rending and 3 regular hits. So let's see if the orc commandos can defend any of this. Let's begin with the regular attacks. They will need 5s, so 1 of them is blocked. And then the energy sword, they will need 6s to defend those attacks, both the rending ones and the other and they do not defend any of it. So that is a total of 4 hits, and that is also the amount of orcs. So the unit will be completely destroyed after the failed charge. Shakarth activates and he advances in cover behind the trees here, but it's enough to take him close to the orc mob, and he will try the spell Soul Seeker. He will need a 3 for the spell to work, and let's see if he once again is successful. This is really something else than the Shakarth from the beginning of this campaign, where he couldn't even light a match with his magic. But now he hits 3 times with AP2 against the orc mob, and they do not defend any of it. So 3 blast hits, but they can regenerate, and they do. 1 of the hits will be regenerated, and that leaves only 1 orc left in the mob. And as usual, let's check his morale. And this time, finally, he had enough. So he goes down pinned. But Shakarth is not finished yet. He also fires his laser blaster against the pinned orc. 2 shots, hitting on a 3. And he will hit with 1 of the shots. So the orc will have to defend again with a roll of 5. And he fails. What about regeneration? Also fails. The orc mob is destroyed. Finally, deeply disturbed, Ugfuss will now have his revenge. He charges against Shakarth with his Ultra Claw. 3 attacks against the High Elf, and Ugfuss will hit on a 4. And he hits once only, and it is AP4, so Shakarth will need a 6 to block this attack. And he is not able to block it, but only 1 wound. He could have been taken down, but instead he takes 1 wound. And now he can strike back. He is armed with Energy Spear. 2 attacks, hitting on a 3. And he also hits back once. It's AP4, so Ugfuss will need a 6 to defend. And he also fails, so they give each other 1 wound. No one won the battle, and they are still not below half strength of their starting tough value. But this could prove to be a fatal decision for Ugfuss, because now Captain Casparus charges in to help his High Elf friend. 2 attacks, and this is not looking good, but he is a veteran and he will hit with a 2, so 1 attack with the Relic Sword hits. It's AP2 and deadly, and unfortunately Ugfuss cannot defend the Relic Sword. He is struck down. He's hit 3 times because of the deadly ability. He falls back and he takes his final breath. And that leaves the Ultra Bosses as the only hope for the Orcs. They move in and stay close to the middle objective. And from here they can shoot their carbines and the rocket mod against Captain Casparus. And the carbines need a 5 to hit, 8 shots, and they hit on 2 of them. But now the rocket, and if he is hit by the rocket, it could take him down. But luckily for the captain, the rocket flies past him, so he has to deal with the 2 regular hits, and he fails 1 of the carbine hits and takes 1 wound. The Orcs still control all 3 objectives, so something must be done, and the assault squad charges against the Ultra Bosses, and they will try to contest the objective as well as take down the unit. First 6 regular close combat attacks, they will need 6s to hit because they are fatigued, so far 1 hit. And then the sergeant with his energy sword, of course, also needing 6s, and he fails all of them. So only 1 hit against the Orcs, and they have a tough value of 3, and that means that None of the attacks have any effect. This could be fatal. The orcs strike back now, and they need 3s to hit as well. So 5 hits. And now 3 attacks with the Ultra Axe. Also hitting on a 3, so 2 hits. So 5 regular hits with AP nothing, and 2 hits with the Ultra Axe AP 1. So the Assault Squad will need 2s to defend the regular hits, and they prove to be much more effective on defense, even though one of them fails. So at least one Assault Squad member is killed, but let's see the Ultra Axe. And again, only 1 out of the 2 hits is blocked, and that means 2 Assault Brothers are killed, leaving only the Sergeant here. But he has to pass a morale test because he lost the battle and is also below half strength. He is fearless, he will need a 2, and he passes just fine. Otherwise he would have been pinned. But now he can contest the objective. And the 2 remaining raiders, who are incredibly alive still, they rush against the top objective and they take control of it. And from here, they are within firing range of the orc. So 2 shots with heavy pistols. One of them hit, and the orc fails to block. And since one of them already had 2 wounds, this was the 3rd one, and 1 orc is killed. So the situation now is that the Prime Brothers control 1 objective, the orcs control the lower objective, and that objective is out of reach of any of the Prime Brothers. And the middle objective is contested. So far, it's a draw. The Orc Ultra bosses activate first, and they will try to eliminate the remaining Assault Squad brother. They have regular attacks, 6 of them, and they hit on 4. They are AP nothing, so the Prime Brother will defend on a roll of 2, and if he is eliminated, they will control the objective. But he is not. Once again, the Prime Brother armor proves superior, and he absorbs all the attacks. Now he can fight back with his energy sword. 3 attacks against the orcs, and he hits on a 3, so 2 attacks. None of them are rending. 2 hits, and they will defend on a 4, so 2 hits to one of the remaining Ultra bosses. And now it's Shakarth's turn. He moves forward from his cover among the trees here, and from this position he once again tries a Soul Seeker spell. He will need a 3 for it to work, and he is really a master of magic. So the Ultra bosses takes 3 hits with AP 2, so they will defend on a 5, and one of them is defended, but 2 hits go through, so 1 more Ultra boss is taken down, and the last one will take 1 wound. And he will need to test his morale now. It could be over for the orcs. No, he keeps fighting, but Shakarth is, as usual, not completely finished. He fires his laser blaster against him, and he hits on a 3 on point blank range, and, well, no further comments. The Assault Squad Sergeant has already fought, but he still has an activation, so he jumps on the other side of the Ultra Boss, so he's not in the way, and here he fires his plasma pistol. 1 shot, hitting on a 3, and that's a clear hit against the Orc. And with a plasma pistol, the Orc will now need a 6 to defend, and wow, he turns around and stares right into his eyes. And that's it. That orc is truly last orc standing. So now it all comes down to Captain Casparus. He has the last activation, and he is the last one to be able to do something. So he charges with his relic sword. He hits on a 2, so 2 hits, and the orc will need a 5 to defend. And if he does so, he will contest the objective and draw the battle. But he fails at least both of Captain Casparus' attacks, and they are deadly, so he takes an awful lot of hits. And even though he was tough and brave, this was just too much. The orcs are eliminated. At the end of the battle, the alliance between the Prime Brothers and the High Elf fleet control 2 objectives, and they have eliminated the Orcs on Crapus 4. Negotiations are completed. The Prime Brothers have total control over Crapus 4, and the High Elf fleet will turn their attention to the moon Tibish and try to clear it for Alien Hive troops. Thanks a lot for watching this battle report. I hope you'll join me for future bad reps.